For the low entry price of 3 Alexander Hamiltons, I'm going to help you turn 1 hour's time into a Benjamin. And all you need are 7 2x4x8s and your miter saw. Free plans at whosthevoss.com. All of my plans are free to download and build because I don't understand how a tutorial on building a project is helpful if I'm hiding half of what I'm doing just so I can sell you the plans later on. If you're spatially impaired like I am, you're going to push your board until it bonks against the wall. And if I push the board all the way down to the other end, we are in a bit of a pickle. Setting the saw over to 30 degrees, I make my first initial angle. Then flip your board and make a cut at 5 inches. Then flip your board and cut one more piece at 7 inches. To make the complete trio set, you need 18 of the 5-inch and 18 of the 7-inch pieces. Moving on to assembly, take a 5-inch piece and a 7-inch piece, bada bing. Or, if you're real fancy, put them like that. Doesn't matter. You're going to add a little bit of glue to this end here. You're going to push them together just like so. And here I have a, wait for it, 1 3/8 of an inch brad nail. That's a weird size. You can use a brad nail, you can use a pin nail. Pin nailers, the one I've got only goes up to 1 inch. And since these are pretty beefy, I was going to use a beefier nail, hence the brad nail. If you guys would like to guess how many nails this is going to take, I really don't know. I'm going to just shoot it in so it's in this little top part. It's not going to hit anything really if I shoot it direct. So I'm going to kind of hug the top of our 5-inch piece. Again, I shoot the bottom one just so that my hand toes are out of the way. And I shoot the top one when the piece is more stable. We're going to repeat this 18 more times. All we have left to do is take our pieces and we're going to glue them together. I'm going to flip this guy over. Obviously, second take. There's already glue in here. Put a little glue. I usually just keep it near the peak. If you put it near these ends, sometimes they don't touch, so it's kind of a waste. Then you're going to line up your 7-inch with the 7-inch side. Smack them together like that. You're going to keep going up. That worked the best. And you're going to repeat that glue process until you have one that's 4 tall, 6 tall, and 8 tall. Maybe you came out the next day to find out that your finished product had a little bit of a tilt or, it was leaning forward. They can be kind of goosey. It's a whole bunch of random pieces put together. All you need to do to fix it is on your bottom, just put it down on the belt sander and correct those issues. It also is going to make it perfectly flat on the bottom if they're putting it on a perfectly flat surface.
Throw down your favorite moving blanket, and I like to mix and match a few different stain colors, or you can use a few different paint colors, or mix and match stain and paint.
Quick interruption. YouTube has recently dropped a new feature called Hype. It's a way that you can tell YouTube that I'm making banger content, and it helps my videos reach the masses. If you swipe left over the comment section, you're able to hype any of my content within the first 7 days of the original publication. And it would mean a lot to me if you extended that gesture of kindness. Back to the show. Set your miter saw at 30 degrees. Make that initial cut to get the angle on our board. Flip your board over. Make a cut at 4 inches. Flip your board. Cut at 6 inches. Flip your board. And a cut at 8 inches. 4, 6, 8, 4, 6, 8, 10, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Easy as that. I generally use scrap pieces to make these little trees. However, I feel like you could get it done with just 1 2x4x8. Yes, can confirm, less than 1 2x4x8. Looking at a 1/2 inch blade kerf as well. To help with assembly, I created this small jig. Cut a piece of 2x4 at 30 degrees to be 2.5 inches long. Make a cute baby triangle. Then cut another piece at around 8 inches. Using your 2-inch triangle, make an outline near the center of your 2x4. It doesn't have to be exact. Using a jigsaw or your bandsaw, cut and remove the shape. I find that the bandsaw is a little more accurate, but use what you have available. And what you end up with is a little hat for your tree to wear while you clamp everything down to give you parallel surfaces. Using Titebond 3, and I would love in the comments if you told me what application I would reach for Titebond Original or 2. I see it right here. The stats, this guy, they just don't compare. All right, you have your pieces, you've sanded them, blah, blah, blah. I'm gonna add a little glue. I kind of keep it away from these edges because that is a pain to get out after the fact. Kind of center it best that you can. Squeeze them together. Ah, man, should have started with that one. Dollop in the center, just like so. Just keep everything kind of centered. Get his little hat, put it on him. Give him the squeeze. Really give him the squeeze. And that's assembly. Get a wet rag, wipe off any of this glue, because it's easier to do when it's wet than when it's hard. Repeat that for the other trees. One more tidbit of information before I let this dry until tomorrow. With our bar clamp, you can see I put it laying down on the project, and that's because if you look straight down, you can see that it is at a little bit of a curve. And as your bar clamps tighten on, this bar bends because of forces, and that makes the outside angles, they're not parallel to each other. And I don't want the forces to be pulling and bowing our project. So I'm laying it down. I'm trying to get as much of the bow to just kind of come at an angle instead of directly onto the skinniest part of our project. That's why I have them all laid down. An upgrade to your bar clamp would be a parallel bar clamp. It's just a stockier, beefier clamp. It's got a thicker one of these pieces, and there's less of a variance when I tighten it down for these ends to actually change angles. They're gonna stay closer to 90 degrees as opposed to this guy, which can move, I think, up to 5 degrees when you're tightening these down. It's a ridiculous amount. Red Chestnut, you secret underdog. I barely use this can, it's this deep. Gorgeous. Paint or stain these to your liking. Usually mix and matching some colors is the tried and true method for sales. This last trio set is the largest and sure to draw in a crowd. We're going to build the largest version of that tree together because it's the most complicated. It's chicken, can you get out of the shot? Create a 30-degree angle at the end of your board, then flip it over and make a cut at 12.5 inches. And repeat this process, but this time at 10 7/8 of an inch. This time without flipping your board, make a cut at 10 inches. And that measurement is from here to here. Now we're gonna need 6 total of these pieces. If you wanna set up a stop block or just, doodle this on each one as you cut it, it's not an exact science for these. We're building the big brother to these 2 trees. And in addition to that 10-inch piece we had just cut, you're also going to cut out an 8-inch piece. That is the spacer for the middle size and the larger tree we're about to build. And a 6-inch piece. They're just spacers. Again, this guy goes to the small guy. Super helpful if you got them around. Once I have the top and sides, I like to begin assembly and then cut the bottom piece last, just to make sure it has a nice tight fit. A freshly reloaded 18 gauge, 1 3/8 inch brad nail. We're gonna take our top 2 pieces, just like we did with the little stack 'em up trees. We're gonna add some glue. I'm right-handed, so I like to do it on this side. Push them together. I'm shooting my nail kind of near the top. I only got 1 3/8 inches. I can't shoot through the whole tree, so here we go. Bottom first. These 2 pieces will have a little bit of play in them. Just don't sit there and rock them back and forth a whole lot. A lot of times you'll see people that build the jigs and they just set the pieces in there and bam, 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 and then they're done. You could build a jig if you would like to. For these trees, I just prefer to use the spacer. I don't need a fancy clamping system or anything. The glue holds them together beautifully when it's all done. The smaller trees, I understand because you don't want to sit there and hold them that, they're this long each. So these guys, they're really big and beefy. You could step up and use a larger framing nail if you wanted to, but it just looks bad. A little bit of glue, a couple little tiny nails, perfect. We're gonna take our piece matching our angle, put your spacer board right here on the outside. Another nice thing about our spacer board is don't have to deal with this. Then we're gonna line this edge up so it fits just like so. Tip them down, throw in some glue. I'm going to shoot 2 nails in, just right here, again, hitting the meat. Just like so. And we're going to continue that on our way down. And with our 3 pieces heading down, you'll just flip this over. Again, gently, gently. I'm going to hit these spots with nails as well. And already, she's solid. You don't need to do fancy stuff. And then we're going to repeat it for this opposite side. And to measure for the bottom, I like to just kick this piece out as far as I can get them without putting tension. Starting at my 1-inch mark, I am going to 22 3/4, which actually is 21 3/4. My angle's like this, not like this. So there I have my 21 3/4 inch bottom, and I've cut out the 11-inch base that is going to go right there. These 2 pieces, we're going to glue and nail into the bottom. For this piece here, we're just putting glue on both sides. And just putting our nails just like we did the tops. For the very bottom piece, you can throw some glue on it and a clamp, center it, just leave it overnight. Or if you want to be impatient and you want to get this stained, painted right away, just throw 2 quick little screws in the bottom to hold it in place. Sound like a broken record at this point. Paint or stain them to your liking. Get some Christmas colors. Accent one of them to be a stain just to have that wood, kind of rustic feel. Kiss the edges of these again. Make it more rustic. It's wintertime. They love it. I also saw where people had put screws in the backs of these and they string a set of lights, and when they flip it around the other way, the lights kind of shine through the tree. That's a cool idea if you want to throw some Christmas lights at it or just have one as a display. This guy's almost 3 feet tall. All of the paint and stain colors that I used in this video are in the plans free to download at whosthevoss.com. I wrote them down for you guys. These are the plans I generally use. So let's get down to brass tacks. All of this was created using only 7 2x4x8s. And honestly, it's only 584.75 board inches, which is the equivalent of 6.09 2x4x8s. You still got a good sized chunk that you can make some more stuff. So that 2x4x8, $3.85 times 7, $26.95. Don't make a special trip for lumber. Go when you're gonna go buy some groceries. Just say, honey, let's throw some 2x4s in the back of the van. Glue, 17 cents. Electricity, 15 cents. I used a sanding disc paper, and that was 8 cents. Nails, 1,000 of them for $5, so roughly 65 cents in nails to get this guy done. Paint and stain, 70 cents. You start, buying a can here or there, you're gonna have a stockpile pretty soon. Buy this paint in gallons. Don't buy the smaller acrylics. You're gonna end up using it. Just get it in a bigger can. It's better and more durable anyway. Bada bing. Looking at $28.70 in cost to build each of these projects. That doesn't include the hour and a half it takes you to throw them together and stain them. Herringbones, I'm selling them for $35 for that trio set. These little stacked guys, $20. It takes less than 1 2x4 for these guys. Doesn't take any time to stain. No hardware included. 20 bucks. They are selling like hotcakes. The trio set, that is $75 and brings out my total to $130 for all 3, minus that $28.70. Gets a Benjamin in my pocket. $101.30. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. But Aaron, why didn't you use your parallel bar clamp in the video? And it's just not a beginner-friendly tool. A lot of people don't have a stockpile of these in the garage. Heck, I only own about 10 of them. I don't even have that many. Parallel bar clamps, the planer, the oscillating spindle sanders, it's a lesser known tool in a lot of people's shops. I just avoid them. I just use, these because I also have these. I started somewhere. And it's more relatable. Okay? Moving on.